You're sitting at the dinner table. Your friends are laughing. Someone just told a story about their weekend. Everyone's engaged. You smile. You nod. You even throw in a comment, but inside, you feel like you're watching through glass, like you're not really there, like even if you disappeared right now, the conversation would continue without a single pause. This isn't regular loneliness. Regular loneliness happens when you're alone. This is something darker. This is the loneliness that arrives when you're surrounded by people who are supposed to know you. The Japanese have a word for this, Moon Shikai, the society without connections. But the Stoics understood it centuries earlier. Marcus Aurelius wrote in his private journal, "People exist for the sake of one another, and yet I feel as though I live among strangers." He was the most powerful man in Rome, surrounded by thousands. And he felt exactly what you feel right now. Here's what we're going to do. I'm going to show you 5 philosophical keys that explain why this happens. Not the surface reasons. Not you need better friends or put down your phone. Those are symptoms. We're going for the root. By the end of this, you'll understand why connection has become the hardest thing humans do. And more importantly, you'll know exactly what's broken inside the way you relate to people. This won't be comfortable, but it will be true. Let's begin. The Buddha taught that suffering comes from tanha clinging. We cling to an image of who we think we should be. We perform that image. We defend it. And in doing so, we exile our actual selves. You walk into that dinner. Before anyone says hello, you've already decided who you need to be. The funny one, the successful one, the one who has it all together. You've clicked into character. Every story you tell is edited. Every laugh is calculated. Every silence is a threat. Because silence means the performance might crack. You're not connecting with your friends. You're managing their perception of you because somewhere along the way, you confused being liked with being known. You learned that the real you, the one who feels insecure, who doesn't have answers, who sometimes just wants to sit quietly without being entertaining, that version doesn't get invited back. So you killed it. You buried it so deep that even when you're with people you trust, you can't find it anymore. Your friends are laughing at your jokes, but they've never met you, and you can feel it. That's the loneliness, not the absence of people, the absence of you in the room. Kierkegaard called this despair in the mode of infinitude, the despair of losing yourself in possibilities of who you could be, rather than accepting who you are. You've become a collection of reactions to other people's expectations, a mirror that reflects what they want to see. And mirrors don't have friends. They have audiences. Aristotle identified 3 types of friendship. Friendships of utility, you're useful to each other. Friendships of pleasure, you have fun together. And friendships of virtue, you know each other's souls and want each other to become better. Only the 3rd type satisfies the human need for connection. Look at your last 10 conversations. How many of them went below the surface? Someone asks how you are. You say good or busy. They nod. You ask them. They say stressed but good. You both laugh. You talk about the weather, about the show everyone's watching, about work drama that doesn't matter. 40-5 minutes pass. You've exchanged 10,000 words, and not a single one was true. This is what I call the depth famine. You're surrounded by interactions, but starving for actual intimacy. Your friends don't know you're struggling. They don't know what keeps you up at night. They don't know your fears or your dreams or the question that's been eating at you for months. Not because they don't care, but because you never told them, and they never asked, because death requires risk. And you've been hurt before. You opened up once. You showed someone your real thoughts, your real struggles, and they didn't get it. Or worse, they used it against you. Or worst of all, they got uncomfortable and changed the subject. So you learned. Stay shallow. Stay safe. Talk about things that don't matter so you can't be rejected for things that do. But here's the trap. Shallow connection is like junk food. It fills the immediate hunger but leaves you malnourished. You can have 1,000 shallow conversations and still feel completely alone. Seneca wrote, "We suffer more in imagination than in reality." You're so afraid of being truly seen that you've chosen to be invisible. And now you're suffering from the very thing you were trying to. Avoid isolation. The loneliness you feel isn't because your friends are bad. It's because you've never given them access to the parts of you that need to be seen. But here's where most people lie to themselves. They say, "My friends wouldn't understand." They're not deep like that. They just want to talk about surface stuff. Stop. Listen to what you just did. You made your friends the problem. You made their supposed shallowness the reason you can't connect. But who decided to keep it shallow? Who chose not to say the real thing? Who changed the subject when the conversation got close to something true? You did. You're not a victim of shallow friendships. You're a co-creator of them. Let that sit for a second. Because what comes next only works if you accept this. Simone Weil, the French philosopher, sighed, "Attention is the rarest and purest form of generosity. To truly pay attention to someone is to give them the gift of your full presence. It's to say, right now, in this moment, you are the most important thing in my world." Your friend is telling you a story. You're nodding, but you're also thinking about the text you need to send, the email you forgot to answer, the thing you should have said in that meeting, whether you look okay right now, what you're going to say next to sound interesting. You're physically there, but you're not there. And they can feel it. Humans have a sixth sense for presence. We evolved it. We can tell when someone is truly with us versus when they're just waiting for their turn to talk. And when we sense that absence, something in us closes. You've been in 100 conversations this month. But how many times were you fully present? How many times did you listen, not to respond, but to actually understand? Because your mind has been trained to be elsewhere. You check your phone 150 times a day. You have 17 tabs open right now. You've conditioned yourself for constant distraction, constant stimulation, constant movement. And now, when someone is speaking to you, offering you a moment of real connection, your brain is scanning for the next hit of dopamine. You're not listening to your friend. You're tolerating the pause between when you get to talk about yourself. Martin Buber distinguished between I-it relationships and I-thou relationships. In I, you treat people as objects, as means to an end, as obstacles or tools. In I-thou, you meet them as full beings, present to present, soul to soul. Most of your friendships are I-it. You're not meeting people. You're transacting with them, trading stories, trading validation, trading the appearance of connection while never actually connecting. And the tragedy is, they're doing the same thing back to you, two people sitting together, both absent, both lonely, both wondering why friendship feels so empty. The Stoics had a concept called sympathia, the interconnection of all things. They believed that humans are fundamentally designed for each other, that we're limbs of the same body. But Marcus Aurelius also wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." You want deep connection, but deep connection requires vulnerability. And vulnerability is the thing you're most afraid of. So you wait. You wait for someone else to go first. You wait for the right moment. You wait for absolute safety, for guaranteed acceptance, for proof that you won't be rejected. But that proof never comes. Safety is an illusion. There is no risk-free intimacy. So you stay behind your walls, and your friends stay behind theirs, and everyone is protected and everyone is alone, because you've misunderstood what vulnerability is. You think vulnerability is weakness. You think it's dumping your problems on people. You think it's being needy or dramatic or too much. But real vulnerability isn't weakness. It's courage. It's saying, I don't actually have it all figured out when everyone expects you to. It's admitting, I felt hurt by what you said, instead of pretending it didn't matter. It's sharing the thought you're afraid will sound stupid. Brown's research showed that vulnerability is the birthplace of connection, but it's also the birthplace of shame. And you've been hurt by shame before. So you've made a calculation. Better to be safe and lonely than vulnerable and rejected. But here's the paradox. The very thing that protects you from rejection is the thing that guarantees your isolation. Your walls aren't keeping people out. They're keeping you prisoner, and your friends can feel those walls. They don't know what they're feeling, but they sense the distance, the guardedness, the subtle message that says you can come this close but no closer. So they keep their distance too, not because they don't care, but because you've taught them that closeness isn't welcome. Epictetus taught, if you want to improve, be content to be thought foolish and stupid. In other words, stop measuring yourself against others. Stop competing for status in every interaction. You're sitting with your friends. Someone shares good news. They got a promotion. They're going on vacation. They met someone, and your first internal response isn't happiness. It's measurement. They got promoted. Why haven't I? They're in love. What's wrong with me? They seem so happy. Why do I feel so empty? You're not connecting. You're comparing. Every conversation is a scoreboard. Every friend's success is a mirror reflecting your supposed failure, because you've turned friendship into competition. And you can't be close to someone you're competing with. Social media trained you for this. Every post is a highlight reel. Every update is a subtle flex. You've learned to curate, to compete, to constantly measure your life against everyone else's filtered version. And now you can't turn it off. Even in person, even with people you love, you're still ranking, still comparing, still keeping score. The philosopher Iris Murdoch called this the fat, relentless ego, the part of you that makes everything about you, that turns every conversation into an opportunity to evaluate your own worth. Your friend is sharing something important to them. but you're not really listening. You're either thinking about how it relates to you or how you measure up, or what you're going to say next to seem interesting by comparison. You're so busy defending your ego that you've forgotten how to just be with someone, and they can feel it. The energy of comparison, the subtle competition, the sense that they're not talking to a friend, they're talking to someone who's using them as a measuring stick. This is the uncomfortable truth. You're lonely with your friends because you're not actually with them. You're performing for them. You're staying shallow with them. You're distracted from them. You're hiding from them. You're competing with them, and all of that is a choice, a habitual unconscious choice, but still a choice, which means you can choose differently. Here's how. Fitch, Nat Hand teaches, the most precious gift we can offer others is our presence. When mindfulness embraces those we love, they will bloom like flowers. Next time you're with someone, try this. Don't plan what you're going to say next. Don't rehearse your response. Don't think about how you look or how you're coming across. Just listen fully, completely. Listen to their words. Listen to their tone. Listen to what they're not saying. Notice their face, their energy, their presence. Be there. Nowhere else. Just their. It sounds simple. It's not. Your mind will resist. It will tell you this is boring. It will try to wander. It will generate thoughts about yourself, about the past, about the future. Notice that. And gently bring yourself back. Again and again. Like a meditation. This is not about fixing your friendships in one conversation. This is about building a new muscle. Start small. Give someone 5 minutes of full attention. No phone, no distractions, no agenda, just presence. Then notice what happens. Notice how they respond when they feel truly seen. Notice how the quality of the conversation changes. Notice how you feel. The ancient Greeks had a word, entelechy, the realization of potential. When you give someone your full attention, you help them become more themselves. And in doing so, you become more yourself too. This is the cure for loneliness. Not more friends, not better friends, but actually showing up for the ones you have. Heidegger wrote about Mitsane being with. We don't exist as isolated selves. We exist in relation to others, and we only become fully ourselves when we risk being seen. You have a thought you're afraid to share. Something real, something that matters. Maybe it's, I've been feeling really disconnected lately. Maybe it's, I don't think we actually talk about real things anymore. Maybe it's, I feel like I don't really know you, and you don't really know me. That thought, the scary one, that's the doorway to connection. Not the safe thought. Not the polite thought. The true one. Next time you're with a friend, share one true thing. Not a performance. Not a curated version. Just something real. It doesn't have to be dramatic. It doesn't have to be a confession. It just has to be true. And then see what happens. 9 times out of 10, they'll meet you there. They'll share something true back, because people are starving for real conversation. They just don't know how to start it. You might be surprised. The friend you thought was too shallow might be waiting for permission to go deep. The friend you thought wouldn't understand might understand perfectly, but you'll never know if you keep performing. Rilke wrote, perhaps all the dragons in our lives are princesses who are only waiting to see us act. Just once, with beauty and courage. Your fear of being truly seen, that's the dragon. And on the other side of it is the connection you've been craving. Here's what we've learned. You feel lonely with your friends because you're protecting yourself from connection. You're performing instead of being present. You're staying shallow to stay safe. You're distracted because presence is hard. You're hiding because vulnerability is scary. You're comparing because your ego needs to win, and none of this is your fault. You learned these patterns. You developed them to survive, to fit in, to avoid pain, but they're not serving you anymore. They're the reason you feel like you're watching your life through glass. The reason you can feel surrounded and still feel alone. The philosophers understood this. From Marcus Aurelius to Martin Buber to Simone Weil, they all knew that the deepest human need is to be truly seen and to truly see others. Not the performed version, the real version. Connection isn't about having the right people in your life. It's about showing up as your real self with the people who are already there. So here's what I want you to do. Not tomorrow. Right now, after this video stops. Sit for 60 seconds. Don't check your phone. Don't move on to the next thing. Just sit. And ask yourself this question. When was the last time I let someone see the real me? Not the capable version, not the put-together version, the version that doesn't have answers, that feels uncertain, that's struggling. When was the last time you let someone in? And if you can't remember, if it's been months or years, ask yourself why. What are you protecting? What are you afraid will happen if people see you as you actually are? You don't have to answer out loud. You don't have to tell anyone. This is just for you. But sit with it. Feel it. Let it be uncomfortable. Because that discomfort is the edge of something real. And real is what you've been missing. Your friends are waiting. Not for a better version of you, just for the real one. The one who's been lonely. The one who's been hiding, the one who's been performing for so long they forgot what it feels like to just exist. That person that's who they want to know. So let them.